They told me. My baby died. 17 years later, they asked me to sign him away. For 17 years, I visited a grave that never had a body. Every April 18th, I brought something small and left it beside a stone with my son's name on it. On the 17th year, I brought a simple brown leather watch, the kind a boy might wear when he was almost a man. I placed it in the grass and whispered, "Happy birthday, Samuel." 3 weeks later, my ex-fiancée's father called me to his office and asked me to sign away the son he had told me was dead. Richard Whitmore never said ugly things directly. He wrapped cruelty in legal language and expensive paper. His office was all glass dark wood and silence that felt bought. He pushed a folder across the table with 2 fingers. "It's only a waiver," he said, "a routine cleanup for an old family file." I was 42, a hospital medical equipment technician. Richard had always looked at me like something tracked in from the street. I opened the folder. My job had trained me to read slowly. In hospitals, disaster hides in skipped lines and misplaced signatures. The header read, "Retroactive Parental Waiver." Then I saw the name. Minor child Noah Caldwell. Mother Evelyn Whitmore. Date of birth April 18th. My hand did not shake. Inside, something dropped through me so hard I thought my body might forget how to breathe. April 18th was the day Evelyn gave birth, the day Richard told me our baby died, and the date carved into the stone where I had left gifts for 17 years. I read the words again. Minor child. Dead children do not need parent waivers. Richard cleared his throat. As I said, routine. I folded the paper carefully. Why does a dead child need my waiver? For the first time since I had known him, Richard Whitmore blinked like a man who had stepped on a crack in his own floor. Then his face recovered. "You're confused, Daniel." "No," I said. "For the first time in 17 years, I'm not." The air between us changed. He leaned back, still elegant, still rich, but no longer fully in control. "You should be careful," he said. Careful. I had been careful since the night he blocked me outside the delivery room. Careful when Evelyn stopped taking my calls. Careful when a white box of ashes arrived without a certificate of body or any proof except the word of a man who hated me. I slid the paper back into the folder. "I'll have my lawyer review it." "You don't need a lawyer for this. That's what people say when you need one." His mouth tightened. "You were never named on any official birth record. Then you don't need my signature." He said nothing. That silence was the first confession. "Oh," I left with the folder. I did not call Evelyn. I did not scream in the elevator. I sat in my truck with the engine off, staring at the name, Noah Caldwell, until the letters became a door I was terrified to open. 17 years earlier, Evelyn Whitmore was the only rich person I knew who seemed tired of being rich. In my small apartment, she said my place felt honest, and her family home felt like a museum where everyone was afraid to touch the furniture. We were engaged when she became pregnant. I was 24 working nights at St. Bartholomew's Hospital. I made enough to survive, not enough to impress a Whitmore. "You understand Evelyn has options," he told me once. "She has me," I said. "That is not the same thing." I was too young to understand how much he meant it. My name had not been added to any official birth record. Near the end, Evelyn got nervous about paperwork and asked if we could wait until things settled. I argued once. She folded completely. "Please, Daniel," she whispered. "I can't fight him every day." So I stopped pushing. That was my first mistake. Trusting someone who is afraid of the person hurting you is like sleeping under a roof that is already burning. The baby came early. By the time I reached maternity, Richard was standing outside the double doors in a dark coat. "Where is she?" "With doctors." "I'm going in." "Number." "I'm his father." Richard looked down the hallway before answering. Not legally. I tried to push past him. 2 security guards appeared. That is another thing money does. It turns cruelty into procedure. I waited under a television with the sound off. Doors opened and closed. At 3:12 in the morning, Richard returned his tie still straight. "The baby didn't survive the transfer," he said. I stood. "What?" "He was too premature." I want to see him. That won't help. I want to see my son. His face did not move. You should be grateful you don't have to remember him that way. The next day, Evelyn's mother said Evelyn needed rest. The day after that, a courier delivered a small white box, a memorial card, and a note saying the Whitmores had handled arrangements privately to spare everyone further pain. There was no funeral, no official death certificate in my hand, no body. When I asked the hospital, I was told I was not authorized, not married, not listed, not family. Those three phrases became walls. Not married, not listed, not family. By the time I realized I needed a lawyer, I was broke, shattered, and half convinced that fighting would make me look like a man too selfish to accept his child's death. Richard had counted on grief to finish what his money started, and grief did. For 17 years, I learned to live around the hole. I repaired machines that kept other people alive. Once a year, I bought a gift for a boy who would never open it. I never married. Some rooms inside you become storage rooms for things too heavy to carry and too important to throw away. Then Richard called and the storage room door opened. The first person I called was not Evelyn. It was Grace Monroe. Grace's office was plain and quiet. She read the waiver twice, then looked at me. Tell me everything without guessing. That was how I knew she was good. Not what I felt, not what I feared, everything without guessing. So I told her about Evelyn Richard, the premature birth, the transfer, the white box, the missing death certificate, and the grave with no body. I told it like a maintenance report because if I told it like a father, I would not finish. Grace tapped the waiver with one finger. If your son died, there should be a death certificate. If he was adopted, there should be a court record. If you had no parental rights, they would not need this waiver. I swallowed. And if they do, then they are afraid you have rights they failed to destroy. I looked at the name again. Noah Caldwell. Can you find out if he's alive? Grace paused. Yes, but we do it carefully. If there is a boy, he is not evidence first. He is a person first. You cannot enter his life like a court order. That hurt because it was fair. I won't. Good, she said. Then we start with paper. Paper is patient. Grace requested old records from St. Bartholomew's. The hospital answered first, too old, restricted, incomplete. But I knew old hospitals. Records do not disappear all at once. A newborn transfer leaves traces in ambulance billing NICU logs, wristband inventory, and checklists. The first clue was an ambulance invoice, not a death transfer. A neonatal transport. Origin St. Bartholomew's. Destination Whitmore Children's Pavilion. Patient male infant Whitmore E. Status critical but stable for transfer. Critical but stable. Not dead. I read those words until they blurred. The second clue was a wristband log. A replacement transfer band had been printed at 3:19 a.m. Richard told me my son died at 3:12. At 3:19, someone was printing a band for a living baby. The third clue led us to Nurse Patricia Hale. Patricia was retired 71, living in a small brick house. When Grace said Evelyn Whitmore's name, Patricia closed her eyes. I wondered when someone would come, she said. She did not ask if I was Daniel. She knew. I'm sorry, she whispered. Those were the first words anyone from that night had ever said to me that sounded like they belonged to the truth. Patricia remembered the baby, premature, small alive. She was told the child was being moved to a higher-level neonatal unit. Then she stood, opened a cabinet, and removed a plastic-wrapped folder. I kept this because I was a coward, she said. Inside was a photocopy of a transfer checklist, faded but readable. Evelyn Whitmore, male infant, timeout 3:24 a.m., receiving facility Whitmore Children's Pavilion, transport condition unstable but breathing. Under parent or guardian notes, someone had written, father present in hospital, not authorized per family instruction. Or not medical instruction, not legal instruction, family instruction. I put my hand over my mouth. Patricia's eyes filled. A man in a dark coat said the situation was handled. Later, I heard the baby had been placed with relatives. Then I saw a private memorial card. I knew something was wrong. "Why didn't you report it?" I asked. The question came out flat, not cruel. She accepted it. Because Richard Whitmore sat on the hospital foundation board. Because I had children and a mortgage. Because I was weaker than I want to remember. I kept the copy because I hoped weakness would not be the last thing I did. Grace took the document carefully. Patricia looked at me. He was alive when he left. Those 5 words made my son real again. Not ashes. Not a name whispered into grass. A baby. Alive. Breathing. Moved away while I sat under a television being told to be grateful. I did not cry in Patricia's house. I thanked her. I made it to my truck, then I broke in half. Grief is strange when it changes shape. For 17 years, I had mourned a dead child. Now I had to mourn the years he had lived without me. First steps, first words, school days, loose teeth, favorite songs, questions about where he came from. Every milestone I buried as impossible had happened somewhere under another name. I wanted to hate everyone at once. But rage leaves wreckage in the wrong rooms, and Noah was not a room I had the right to flood. So I went back to Grace. She had already found him. Noah Caldwell existed. Born April 18th. Raised by Margaret Caldwell. Father listed as unknown. Connected to the Whitmore Family Trust through a restricted beneficiary schedule. Not dead. Unknown. That word hurt worse than death. Unknown was not a tragedy, it was a decision. Grace showed me one public photo from a school robotics competition. A tall boy in a navy hoodie stood beside a table of wires. He had Evelyn's mouth. He had my father's eyes. There are moments when the body recognizes blood before the mind gives permission. I touched the edge of the page, not his face, just the paper. "Is he okay?" I asked. "By public records, yes," Grace said. Good student. Robotics track part-time job at a bike shop. He turns 18 in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. That was why Richard needed me. The Whitmore Family Trust was preparing to transfer assets to Noah before his 18th birthday. A new lawyer noticed defective guardianship records, no proper adoption order, a questionable signature, and a hospital note that a putative father had been present. Richard needed my real signature to clean up the fake one. Grace found the forged document next. It was allegedly signed by me when Noah was 6 months old. I, Daniel Hale, acknowledged no parental claim and abandoned all interest. The signature looked like mine from far away. But the date was impossible. I had been working a 12-hour emergency shift that day, and I still had the supervisor email thanking me for staying late. Grace looked almost pleased. "They used my name to erase me," I said. "Yes," she replied. "And now we use their need for your real signature to prove they knew the first one was fake." That was the revenge beginning. Not shouting. Contradiction. Richard called twice that week. I did not answer. Then he emailed. "Daniel delays will only complicate matters for everyone, including the boy." The boy. Not Noah. Not your son. The boy. I forwarded it to Grace. She told me to respond with one sentence. "I will attend the trust meeting on Friday with counsel." Richard called within 30 seconds. I let it go to voicemail. "There is no need to involve outside counsel," he said. "This is a private family matter." I saved the voicemail. Private family matter had protected him for 17 years. On Friday, I wore the only suit I owned, the one bought for the memorial that had never been a real funeral. Grace met me in the lobby with 2 folders and a black briefcase. "You okay?" she asked. "Number." "Good, do not pretend to be, just stay still." The conference room was long, cold, and built to make ordinary people feel temporary. Evelyn sat near the far end. Beside her was Margaret Caldwell, face tight with fear. Richard stood at the head of the table. 2 trust attorneys and an accountant waited beside him. Everyone looked at me like I had brought mud onto marble. Richard smiled. "Daniel, Miss Monroe, this should be brief. Grace set her briefcase down. I agree. Richard slid a fresh copy of the waiver toward me. The document only confirms what has always been understood. Daniel was never legally established as the child's father. I did not touch it. Grace opened her first folder. Before my client considers signing anything, we require clarification on several records. One attorney frowned. This is not a litigation setting. No, Grace said. It is a trust meeting involving a minor beneficiary, defective guardianship documentation, and a possibly forged parental waiver. It may become a litigation setting depending on how honestly everyone behaves. The accountant stopped typing. Grace placed the ambulance invoice on the table. Neonatal transport. April 18th, 3:24 a.m. The infant was alive at transfer. Evelyn made a sound like air leaving a punctured lung. Grace placed the wristband log beside it. Replacement transfer band issued after the time Mr. Whitmore claims the child died. Then she placed Patricia's checklist on top. Retired nurse Patricia Vale confirms the baby was breathing when transported and was moved under family instruction while Daniel Hale was present in the hospital. Richard's voice cut in. This is old confusion. A premature infant, chaotic circumstances. Grace placed the forged statement down. I agree. Let's discuss confusion. The room went still. This says Daniel Hale abandoned all parental interest 6 months after the birth. He denies signing it. We have employment records placing him at St. Bartholomew's during the alleged signing window and a preliminary handwriting review finding the signature inconsistent. Richard laughed once. You brought a handwriting expert into a family trust meeting? Grace looked at him. You brought a forged signature into a child's life. Then Richard made his mistake. He was never legally Daniel's son. Grace leaned back. Then why did you forge Daniel's signature to remove him? Silence. The kind of silence that arrives when every lie in a room realizes there is no hallway left. Evelyn began to cry. Margaret whispered, Richard, stop. He snapped, Be quiet. There he was, a frightened tyrant, guarding stolen years. I looked at Evelyn. Is he alive? She covered her mouth. I asked again, softer. Is my son alive? She nodded. For a moment, no revenge mattered. No trust. No forged signature. No Richard. Only that nod. 17 years of grass and empty gifts collapsed into one unbearable fact. My son was alive. Richard started speaking again. You need to understand the context. Evelyn was unstable. The child needed stability Margaret could provide. I stood. He stopped. I had imagined yelling if this moment ever came. I had imagined fists, security, a table overturned. But what came out was quiet. You told me to be grateful I didn't see him. You were a child yourself, Richard said. I was his father. You had no means. I had arms. The sentence broke Evelyn's crying into something raw. I had arms, I repeated, and you decided he would never know that. Richard looked away first. That was the only apology he ever gave me. It was not enough. Grace closed the folder. My client will not sign the waiver. We are notifying the probate court, the trust oversight board, and the appropriate authorities regarding suspected forgery, defective guardianship filings, and concealment of parentage. We are also requesting an immediate freeze on any trust disbursement involving Noah Caldwell until independent counsel is appointed for him. One trust attorney said independent counsel. Grace turned to him. He is 17, not furniture. That line stayed with me. Not furniture, not a beneficiary line, not a Whitmore asset. A boy. My son. Richard sank into his chair. You'll destroy this family. I looked at him. No. I'm returning what you built it on. The weeks after that did not feel like victory. Sometimes justice is paperwork, nausea, phone calls, and learning terrible facts in the wrong order. The trust was frozen within 10 days. Richard was removed as acting trustee. The forged waiver and guardianship file were referred for review. Evelyn gave a sworn statement. I read it once. Only once. She said Richard told her I would ruin the baby's life. She said she was medicated, frightened, and pressured. She said the memorial was Richard's idea. She said she wanted to tell me many times. Many times? Those words made me angrier than almost anything else. Many times is not never. Many times means there were doors, and she stood in front of them and chose not to open them. Margaret said she loved Noah. I believe that. Love is not always innocence. She accepted the story that gave her what she wanted. Noah was told carefully not by me. The court appointed an independent advocate, and a counselor met with him first. I was advised to wait. Waiting was harder now because my son was not behind death. He was behind care. I wrote him a letter. The first drafts were angry, sad, and selfish. By the 12th, I found the truth. Dear Noah, my name is Daniel Hale. Before anyone named you Noah, I knew you as Samuel. I was told you died the night you were born. I was not allowed to see you, hold you, or say goodbye. I believed that for 17 years. Every year on your birthday, I brought you a gift. I am not telling you this to make you feel guilty. You owe me nothing for my grief. I only want you to know this. I never gave you up. I did not leave. I did not know you were alive. I am not here to take your life away from you. I am not here to tell you who to love or what to call anyone. I am here because you deserve the truth, and because I loved you before I knew your face. If you ever want to meet me, I will come. If you never want to meet me, I will still be grateful that you are alive. Daniel. I wrote Noah Caldwell on the envelope, not Samuel. Samuel was the name stolen from me. Noah was the person he had become. 2 weeks passed. Then Grace called. Noah wants to meet. We met at a small cafe near the river. I arrived 30 minutes early and still felt late. I changed tables twice, trying not to imagine my son walking in and hating me for existing. He arrived in a navy hoodie taller than I expected. When he saw me, I knew he knew. Recognition can be cautious and still be recognition. He walked over. Daniel. I stood too fast. Yes. We did not hug. I am grateful for that now. A hug would have asked too much of him. He sat. I sat. For a while, we looked at the table as if it had instructions written on it. I read your letter, he said. Thank you. He turned his paper cup in his hands. I don't know what to call you. You can call me Daniel. He nodded. Then he asked the question that finally let me breathe. What did you call me before they named me Noah? I had prepared for anger, accusations, even silence. I had not prepared for that. Samuel, I said. He looked down. Why? I took the old ultrasound photo from my jacket pocket. The edges were soft from years of handling. I placed it on the table but did not push it toward him. Your mother said it sounded gentle, and I thought the world would need more gentle men. Noah stared at the photo. Did you really buy birthday gifts? Yes. All 17? Yes. What did you do with them? I kept them. What? I looked out at the river, because I had nowhere else to put being your father. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Can you tell me about the birthdays? That was the moment I won. Not against Richard, not against Evelyn, not against the Whitmore name. I won against the lie that said my fatherhood had never existed. So I told him about the socks, the wooden train, the bicycle bell, the book about stars, and the watch. Not everything. A first meeting is not a courtroom. It is a bridge. When we left, he did not hug me. He said maybe we can talk again. Maybe. Oh, after 17 years, maybe was a miracle. Richard Whitmore did not lose everything in one afternoon, but he lost the thing he valued most. Control. He lost control of the trust, control of the narrative, control of Noah's records, control of Evelyn's silence, control of the room whenever my name was spoken. I wished I could go back and tell that boy one thing, not that everything would be okay, not that justice would be fast. I would tell him, remember the date, because grief will try to blur things to protect you. People will call your pain confusion. Powerful men will turn lies into documents and documents into walls. But dates remain. April 18th, 3:24 a.m. Transfer condition unstable but breathing. A life did not end where they told me it did. A lie began there. Richard thought grief made me harmless. He was wrong. Grief taught me how to wait, how to keep receipts, how to hear the difference between silence and silence that has been manufactured. He stole my son's name, my place, and 17 years of my life. But he forgot one thing. A lie can live inside a family for years. It can sit at dinner tables. It can sign school forms. It can smile in Christmas photos. It can grow old behind money manners and polished wood. But the moment it needs a signature, it leaves fingerprints. And this time the signature was mine to refuse.